Oh, happy day. I get to do another video. That's two in one day. This is unprecedented. I wanted to go ahead and talk to you guys about styles and the layout and Flexbox stuff. And so, I've mentioned it in previous videos and maybe didn't go too in depth into how it all works. And I'm here to remedy that because I care about you guys, and I want you to know all of the concepts. So, bada bang, bada boom, here we go. All right. I'm going to start off here by just having this one view, and I'm going to leave its style prop to styles.container, and then I'm just going to take out everything but the flex one. If you remember before, I told you that the flex sort of auto calculates the space available for a component to take up. And so what I'm going to do for all of the components that I put on screen today is I'm going to go ahead and assign them a border width of 2 and a border color of various colors so that we can see how the layout is affected with each view. Now, with a property of flex 1, you'll see it takes up the whole screen. But the important thing to know about flex is that it's something of a ratio. Okay, so right now, because this view, this container, is the top level view, which is to say that there are no other views on the same development plane, if you will, which you can't do anyway, as you can see. The number that I use really doesn't matter as long as it's not flex 0. Okay, so if I were to put flex 10, you see it would still take up the whole screen, and that's because there are no other components fighting with it. So I know that doesn't make sense, but it's about to, so don't worry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in here 2 other views, and I'm just going to give them some random style names. Obviously, there's no actual style here, and that's all right. There's no style there yet, I should say. Styles.bottom, and I'm just calling it this because it makes the most sense to me. And what we're going to do is top, and what we're going to do here is bottom. Okay, so great. Again, like I said, we're going to go ahead and give it a border color of... I'm going to give this one blue, actually. I don't know why I just typed red again. I was thinking blue. I swear I was. And a border width of 2. So now it's floating up here, and we're going to do the same thing with the bottom one. We're going to give it a border width of 2 and a border color of, let's go with green. And once again, it's sort of just right below it. So the way Flex works is what I'm going to do is give the top a flex of 1. Okay. Now, what that's done is it's saying, take all of the available space within the container, not the actual screen, because the view that has container already takes up the entire screen. Okay, so top being nested inside of container only has access to whatever space container has made available. Okay, so with this flex 1, we're saying take whatever space is available within inside container and take that minus any space required by any other nested elements. So this bottom element is on the same level as the top element. However, bottom doesn't have any defined space requirements, so therefore this blue bordered version is going to get the majority of the space. Now watch what happens when I do this. Flex 1. Boom. Okay, crazy, right? So what's happening here is top and bottom, both having a flex value of 1, are both saying, hey, give me as much possible space within the container that I can have. You know what I mean? Like, I need as much of it as possible. And so the reason that we're getting half and half here is because there are 2 elements saying that they need as much as possible. So what happens is it gets divided up into 2 elements. Okay, does that make sense? I'm sure it does. And if not, hey, like I said, just leave a comment and I will explain it the best I can. All right, now I'm going to throw in a wrench here to sort of make it maybe a little bit more understandable. And I'm going to say styles.middle. And even though it's technically going to be on the bottom, it just, I'm just going with the flow here, okay? Jeez. And we're going to go flex 1, border width 2, border color, let's go orange. Now, if you're thinking what's going to happen is these two boxes are going to turn into three evenly divided boxes, you're correct. So boom. Now we have blue, green, orange, and they're all evenly spaced. And the reason for that is because the flex values are all the same. Okay? So what's happening here is these values are being added up, okay, and then they're being divided by the number of actual elements and then distributed based on the actual value, okay? So that means 1 plus 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So that means we have a total flex of 3, and we also have 3 elements. So that means each element is going to get 1/3 of the available space, okay? Now let me mix it up here a little bit, and I'm going to give this top one a flex value of 2. Okay, so now what that means is we have 2 plus 1, which is 4. There's 3 elements, okay? However, that first element is to get 2. Okay, so basically this top element is going to get 2/4 or 1/2. It's a fraction simplification. So, out of the 4 flex values, this top container is going to get 2 values worth of space, and the other ones will have to divvy up the last 2 values of space evenly between the 2 of them. Okay, so the top half of the screen is taken by blue, the bottom half is divided evenly by green and orange. I'm hoping that makes sense, and of course we can jack it up even higher by going with 4, and so that's going to take up 4/6, which comes out to 2/3. So 2/3 of the available space inside container goes to the blue, and then that other third is divided evenly among these two. Now, to demonstrate how we can change that a little bit, we can make that a 2, and so what that's going to end up doing is making a lower ratio. So now it's a 7. Okay, so 4/7 of it are given to the top, and that means 2/7 of it again is given to this bottom container. It's called bottom. It's not actually at the bottom. I'm sorry if the style names are confusing you. And the last one with a flex value of 1 is only getting 1/7 of the total available space. So again, this middle box right here, we could put 7 of them going straight up here, and they would all be the exact same size as far as height goes. Obviously the width isn't changing because it's using all of the available space for width. Okay, so that's how flex works. Now, there are some caveats to the way flex works, and there are some dissimilarities in the way Flexbox in CSS works. But the number one thing to know at this point is that Flexbox is a great tool, and it helps take out a lot of the math you'd have to do yourself. So one of the things that I should also cover here is you see border width, and I'm using 2. I'm not using 2px, not 2em, not 2 inches, 2 feet, whatever you want to call it. The units that are used in React Native are auto-calculated, and they're pixel density independent. And what that means is, the iPhone 6 might be 735 by 753 by 1334, I think is the actual resolution, and then the pixel density, I don't know, I'm just going to make up a number and say it's 72. Okay, well, if the iPhone 6 has a pixel density of 72 and the Android Galaxy S7 has a pixel density of 95, then your pixels, the border width will look different between those two devices. Well, the way that React Native works is these values, these units, if you will, are independent of the device's pixel density. So you provide a consistent user experience across all of your devices based on the way that works. Now, I want to move on a little bit and talk about the styles prop, or the style prop, I should say, before we get too much further into how Flex works. So far, we've only ever given one style to a view or to text or anything like that, but you can in fact pass multiple styles. So just quickly, I'm going to give another style here. I'm going to call it header, and what I might do is add in there some fanciness. Maybe we'll just have a margin bottom of let's just say 15. Okay, so what that's going to do is whatever view has that style will have a bottom margin of 15. And in order to pass more than one style to a component, all we have to do is wrap the styles in the array bracket, the square brackets that denote an array, and do styles.middle, and we'll do styles.header here, and refresh. And now you can see at the bottom there's 15 units. I'm going to say pixels, but we know it's not pixels. 15 pixels worth of space below that. The important thing to note is that when you pass multiple styles, the last style always takes precedence. So if I were to say flex, let's just say flex 5 here, knowing that the middle has a flex value of 1, but header has a flex value of 5, the flex value of 5 is what's going to be taken into account. I missed my comma there. So a quick save and a refresh and bada bang. Okay, so now you can see that the orange bordered box is now taking 5 of what is actually going to be 11. So 5/11ths, if you will now have more room than even the blue, which used to be the dominant style. So I hope that helps you understand Flexbox, Flex layout at least a little bit, and I hope you get a somewhat better understanding of how the styles work. The really important thing to note is that there are plenty of styles that you can use. A lot of them are the same way that CSS works, and you just need to remove the dash and put it in camel case. One of the great things about being in the developer mode is if you were to put something like I don't know, this is wrong, this is a made up value, don't use it, but if you put an incorrect value, then you'll get this great red box that tells you, well, here's what you're supposed to have: flex start, flex end, center, stretch, or baseline. And that goes for a lot of the properties. If you provide bad values to it, it'll tell you what you can use, maybe what you should use, that kind of thing. So real quick, we're going to talk about flex direction, and what I'm going to do in order to show you that is I'm going to pull these other views out of here real quick, and I'm going to take the styles out, and what we're going to do is we're just going to make a couple of little views, and they're going to just be little squares. Okay, so I'm actually going to pass in an object that will contain my styles instead of using the style sheet property down there. So let's just make this first one blue, and we will go ahead and end this view out, and then we're going to go ahead and do let's see, oops, maybe if I could spell blue, this wouldn't be such an issue. Do another one here. We're going to pass again another object, and that object is going to contain our styles. That first one was blue. We'll make this one say green, and of course we will end this component. The reason I'm putting them, I'm just ending these components, is that they don't have anything inside them, and I don't plan for them to have anything inside them. No nested components, and so therefore there's no reason for me to end them the typical way. And let's just make this last one red. Okay, so you've got these three squares here. You got your blue, you got your green, you got your red, and the reason that they're stacked this way is because of the way the flex direction works. By default, React Native's flex direction is column or top to bottom. So when we're making these elements, they're being stacked on top of each other. This is useful when you're trying to place components vertically and align them vertically, which was what we were doing before. But when we're ready to place things specifically left to right, and we want them to look a certain way, it's always going to be better to use flex direction row. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and change flex direction to row, and you're going to see what that looks like here in just a sec. Voila. So what we've done is, for this particular view only, we've moved from flex direction column to flex direction row. And when I say this particular view only, I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like if we do it a different way. So let's go flex 1, and we'll go flex direction row, and then we'll go ahead and do this, and inside that view we're going to go ahead and drag these square views, if you will. Now you can see, of course, that these are still left to right, but if I were to duplicate this view here and take out the flex direction property, you'll see that because they both have a flex value of 1, the container space is being divided up evenly between these two overarching ones. And so just to make it easier, I'll give you the border there for that one and the border here for this one. So the overall view is being, or the two views are being divided up evenly from the container view, but one has a flex direction of row, and so its children components are being shown from left to right. The other one has the default, which is a flex direction of column, therefore they're being shown top to bottom. This is especially useful for me left to right when I'm making buttons that have an icon and also some text on it. You know, sometimes I want to have the icon right next to the text, or some text and then an icon right after it. And I don't want to have them, you know, on separate lines. I want them on the same row. And so flex direction row works really well inside of buttons for exactly that purpose. Alright guys, hopefully you've learned a lot about Flexbox and style and the layouts. And we are going to get more into it when I talk about how align items and justify content works. I find it's easier to learn about those two particular items in practice rather than just watching somebody else. So I'm going to end this one here. And you know, as always, if you like these videos, please like them. Please subscribe to my channel. And also, I'm going to provide a link in this video description and all the other video descriptions to my iOS developer profile on the App Store. I do actually have 2 apps out that were made entirely in React Native. So definitely check them out and you know, leave feedback and whatnot. And thanks for coming by, guys.